Hi there. Welcome to PTZOptics and HuddleCam HD Live. My name's Tess Protesto, and I'm here with the lovely
Lindsay Pope.
We are live every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. It is our first show back in the studio since NAB.
Yeah.
We missed you last week.
I miss being here. I miss being on the show. I had fun in the chat, though.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to be on the other side of things sometimes, isn't it?
I liked heckling you and Steven.
No,
well, you were so
the only
helpful,
person who would have noticed
and whatnot. Thank you guys for joining us. We were at NAB show earlier, or last month, should I say now. We had a great time. We got back. We took it easy for a week and streamed from home. But today we are back in studio with some very exciting news. For any of you existing PTZOptics customers, we do have a very big firmware update that was recently released. That's going to apply to a multitude of our cameras, and we're going to dive into that shortly with our product manager, Mr. Geoff Robinson. But let's cover some current events for you. Today, I mentioned we are talking about firmware upgrades for the PTZOptics cameras. Also, we've got InfoComm coming up, our second in-person trade show of the year. Actually, third, because some team members are in Barcelona for ISE.
Yeah.
Jeez. We'll be the second week of June back in Vegas at InfoComm. Our booth number is W1659. So make sure that you stop by there and check out all of our latest technology. Shout out to a couple of the programs that we offer here from our organization. Tech Town Hall, our tech roundtable with our industry experts. That's going to be, I didn't write the notes on there. The third Friday of the month at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. It's just kind of a rule of thumb now that I don't remember the time and date of other shows. I don't know what's wrong with me to get that together. And shout out to Salt Talk, Sound and Lighting Technology for House of Worship with our very own Stephen Haywood. That's the last Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure that you check out those for more in-depth information on worship streaming and technology. Please, if you're watching us, go follow us on social media, like and subscribe. Every single one counts in helping us be able to continue providing the content that we do to our audiences, and we really appreciate that. Head over to our user groups as well and hang out with the Lindsay Pope over here. She manages those groups on Facebook. We have a few dedicated groups to Houses of Worship, a PTZOptics support group, and an OBS group. Now, I almost forgot about something very important. We're going to dive into this announcement later today, but PTZOptics, not in this firmware upgrade, but in an upcoming firmware upgrade, is integrating MIDI control support for our PTZOptics pan tilt zoom cameras. We're going to talk about what that means with our product manager in just a few moments here, so stay tuned for that. Excuse me. I'm like totally out of it today after having not been in the studio there for a little bit. Make sure that you guys vote for us in the MIDI Awards. We are going to be joining the MIDI Awards under commercial hardware. You can scan that QR code to vote today for us for our upcoming MIDI control upgrade. All right, let's see if we can kick things off on better foot with all my tongue-tiedness, Lindsay, if we take it over to you for the social.
Where's my do-do-do-do? There it is. Hello and welcome back to Share Your Vision. So this week we have something a little different. Kevin from River Falls Sports reached out to us to share that this is his 12th year broadcasting baseball. He uses our PTZOptics 30X NDI cameras to live stream youth baseball games. He says, "This is a solo operation for me and it is pretty amazing what one person can do with your technology. Thank you, Kevin, for sharing your vision and demonstrating how our cameras can be used in sports broadcasting." Let's take a look.
Is this a video?
Yeah.
Oh, you brought video clips into this
official.
Share Your Vision.
Yeah,
so official.
He's using our PTZOptics 30X NDI cameras to produce.
Is that your video, John?
So this is the 30X NDI PTZ.
All those torn up tugboats.
Baseball application.
Yeah.
They look legit too with the seating.
Yeah.
What is this? High school? Did you say?
Youth.
Oh,
So I don't really know the
gotta
age.
Be high school.
Let me see if it's in the description.
And he was calling
Varsity.
presets.
So, yeah, I think they are high schoolers.
Nice.
Yeah.
We got to see a preset switch there. Pretty cool. Hey, everybody in the chat. We see you coming in. Carlos, sad we didn't get to see you at NAB as well. Let us know where you're watching from. It's cool to see where everybody's from. We've got Sherwin from Barbados, Tim from Indiana, Rick from Las Vegas. So hopefully you'll see some of our team at Infocom in the coming weeks here. Hi, Kyle. Shall we do our Would You Rather? Which one
yes.
did you pick? I wasn't involved in this week.
So my friend actually asked me this yesterday. She said, would you rather fight off 10 horses the size of ducks or one horse the size of a duck? And you don't get any weapons.
No, one duck the size of a horse, it says.
Well, I don't.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I
One
messed
horse
up.
The size of
I messed up on the whiteboard, but it's one duck the size of a horse.
Well, then they're both the size of the duck.
No.
Yes, if
Did
you
I
fight
say
off
this
10
wrong?
horses that are the size of a duck, or one,
No.
it has to be the duck
Or
the size of a horse.
One duck-sized horse.
Yes.
10 horses the size of ducks, or one duck the size of a horse. Yes, there we go.
Yes, I would
No
rather fight
weapons.
off 10 duck-sized horses.
Yeah, 10 little tiny horses.
Yes, than one, because the duck could just eat you.
Just eat you.
Giant.
Yeah. But I guess if you're like creative enough, you can just like, I don't know, you can maybe get them in one swing, but I don't know what you would use because there's no weapons.
It sounds troublesome either way.
Yeah.
Well, let us know that in the chat. And I think it's time to bring on our product manager, Geoff Robinson. Do we have him? Hey, Jeff.
How you doing?
I
have him muted. Michael, can you unmute him?
Call-in
system got messed up before the show, so
here
we are again, falling back on Zoom.
Just
hang tight there for us, Jeff, really quick while we get you unmuted.
It's
just within Zoom, Mike. No, do you want me to come over?
Are you the host?
Hang tight. I'm not a host, so I can't mute it from here.
Don't
worry. We've got you coming.
Let me come up and see it.
Oh.
Forgot to put it over there. You can just right click on him and then he's muted himself. Last on mute. He has to unmute himself. Jeff, turn around and press unmute. Because you're muted. There you go. Now we should be able to hear you. All right, give us some levels before we start the interview.
Check.
Levels. I think I heard him.
Okay.
Did you hear him?
Okay.
All right, one more time for me, Jeff.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Oh, thank goodness.
All right.
Woo!
First show back in the studio.
We are a little rusty.
Says we're getting echo.
We shouldn't
Graham.
be getting
echo anymore.
Okay. You
hear him. I'm not hearing it. We should be good to go.
Jeff, we're here to
talk about firmware upgrades.
Thank
you so much
for
joining us and agreeing to talk about this. Let's start about the cameras that the new firmware is going to be applied to.
So right now this firmware is available on the PT12X, PT20X, and PT30X SDI NDI, and will soon be available for the Z cams.
Awesome. So that's more than I had initially realized.
Yeah,
so that's
trying to get it across the board.
Great. So for our 30X, 12X, and 20X SDI and NDI cameras. And it's currently available?
Yes, for the 12, 20, and 30X cameras.
Okay. And is it still true that people head to the firmware finder to upgrade their firmware?
There's now a firmware files section of the website. We no longer need the firmware finder.
No longer need the firmware finder.
You just need to know your model now. You don't need to know your serial number or anything else.
So where's this taking you to then?
Huh?
So do you see this here behind me? Are you able to see this up close?
I do not. I can't see what you're showing me.
Okay, I'm on PTZOptics.com/latest firmware files.
Wait, it says that Tess is echoing really badly.
So you want to go to that firmware files, and then you're just going to select the model that you're using.
Okay.
It's firmware files, right, John?
Yes,
okay.
Firmware files.
And so you can then click on the PT12X, and you'll see the files for that camera.
Can we just remind them how to use the function versus how it functions now with their bias no longer a firmware finder?
And then
that's it.
Yeah, so you just download the files. You can download the files with the upgrade tool in combo, or if you already had the upgrade tool, the files are available.
Excellent.
And then separately, there's another page that actually has the change log, which I can detail some of the changes that the firmware brought about.
Yeah,
Can we talk about some of the changes here? I have them listed off, but I'll allow you to just go ahead down. And I know there's one that people are going to be particularly excited about. I'm going to start with that one.
Sure, yeah. I mean, a lot of it's going to be just random bug fixes, security fixes, just trying to get the cameras as operating as well as we can. But we did add one really big feature that I'm pretty excited about, and what we call it preset with OSD functions. So previously, when you set a preset, that would save your pan, your tilt, your zoom position, and your focus data, nothing else. So our customers were constantly asking us, well, how can I keep a preset and move to auto exposure, or move to indoor white balance, or change my brightness to a different value, or even change the speed settings that the camera is using? Well, that's what we've created. We've now allowed the presets to save not only your pan, tilt, zoom, and focus values, but all of your exposure data, all of your color balance data, all of your image data, and all of your speed settings, as well as a couple other settings that are in the systems menu. And I can go on with that. Basically, so it's a pretty easy process. You're going to set a preset just like you did before, but instead of just saving that position data, now you're saving all the information that you would use to set the camera. So this allows operators with multiple sites to move between sites, have separate presets for different lighting conditions. We think it adds a lot of flexibility to production.
So, and you can still hear me. I just want to be clear because I was having audio issues. Okay, good. So for people who, we talked about this before the show too, for people who maybe have a classroom setting that they're using their camera, but then on the weekend they want to use it in the auditorium, those presets can be saved per application essentially.
Yeah, so we offer 255 presets on the camera. So most of our users are only using maybe 10 to 20 presets at most. So what you could start doing if you're moving your camera to multiple settings, or even houses of worship where you might be shooting at different times of the day with large windows where the sun is traveling at different points, well, you could save sets of presets to deal with different lighting conditions or different scenarios that your camera might be put in.
That's huge, because that's a question we've gotten from a lot of existing customers and prospective customers. So I'm very excited to be able to share that with our audience.
Yeah, well, we heard it a lot from our existing customers. It was a highly requested function, and we finally figured out how to do it.
That's amazing, Geoff. Kudos to you guys for being able to make that happen.
Thanks, Tess.
What else do we have coming up here? I see we have some VSCA commands, VSCA over IP commands. What does that mean exactly?
So the VSCA over IP is the way that you can control the camera through Internet Protocol. It's one of the main languages that we use. Most of the VSCA settings are some general fixes. I believe there's now a VSCA setting where you can turn on and off your RTMP stream, which as of last firmware, you don't need to reboot the camera for. So that's a big one. You can now just instantly start and stop RTMP to YouTube or Facebook. There's a couple other minor VSCA changes. Another important one that I really like, and it looks like I might have broken off. So I'll keep going in case you can hear me. Okay, it looks like I'm back. So another big change, we added HTTPS certificates. So now if you want to publicly expose your camera to the internet, and you don't want to create warnings through an HTTP connection or an HTTPS connection without a certificate. And this is really invisible to most web users, but it's built into all the browsers. They're going to force you to HTTPS, and our cameras can now use HTTPS like modern websites. So that's a really cool feature, especially for people who want to access their cameras publicly through IP. That's we really like that feature.
And then I see here we have added support for HTTPS certificate files. This sounds pretty in depth.
Yeah,
Is
so
that gonna be relevant
that's
to-
basically what I was trying to go past, and it's a long, complicated way of how the websites basically prove that I am this website and I'm not some website that's going to steal your credit card information. And so it forces websites to basically create SSL certificates, which allows the website to serve HTTPS versus HTTP. It basically allows us to now host the camera through a domain, and you're not going to really notice that that there's some sort of security warning through Chrome or Edge or Firefox, which you might have seen before if you tried to manage your camera through a public IP.
That's just a
It
lot
also
of
allows you to
convenience
map
there.
domain names.
Okay, domain names as well. We do have a question coming in from Jim, and I believe it's actually regarding the SuperJoy update. So the super presets work with Sony Visca.
The super presets working with Sony Visca. I believe that is, that's in our sort of current feature request stage. That it will not make it into firmware that I'm hoping to be able to release this month, which is going to add a lot of cool things on the SuperJoy. But that is something we are looking for the next iteration of SuperJoy firmware.
Right, so we just got a little tease on a SuperJoy firmware update.
Yeah.
How about the web interface of these cameras? Is there anything that we can look forward to with this firmware update for that?
So it's another sort of technical thing that people aren't going to see really what's going on under the hood, but we actually changed the underlying web server for the camera from THTTBD or THTTPD to light HTTBD. And the real important thing that allows is it allows you to, in the live video section, you used to have to select whether it was IE or VLC to be able to see the live feed and manage your OSD settings. Now the feed works differently, so that live stream will work without you having to manipulate a drop-down box, and it will allow you to actually manipulate your OSD settings through the stream that's available through the live tab of the web UI.
Okay, very interesting. Got some questions coming in here. Rick is asking, was the iPad updated for this new firmware? I'm assuming particularly with the OSD presets.
Could you repeat that one?
Yeah, was the iPad app updated for this new firmware?
So the presets with OSD functions will work the exact same way your presets work. So yeah, the iOS app, the PTZOptics control app, the web UI, the NDI way you set presets, nothing changes. It's just instead of just saving your position data, it's now saving all the other related data that you would access from the OSD. But from the user's perspective, the only real change is you're going to have to make sure that before you save a preset that it has the settings you want. So most people were under the impression, hey, I'm just going to keep settings and I'm going to start setting presets. But now if you change a setting and you set that preset, now that setting is going to be enabled when you call that preset. So it just requires a little bit of maybe a change in setup if you were trying to do stuff and change presets, change OSD settings on the fly. But from the perspective of software, there's nothing different happening here.
Okay, and nothing different on end user management of it. You just set your preset, your OSD settings, and then it's saved.
Yeah, it's really the only thing is you have to be aware that now all of that OSD information is saved with the preset, and that's really the big change.
Okay. Diane wants to know, there are 2 upgrade tools for Windows v2.7, Windows v2.8. Do all serial numbers now use Windows v2.8?
So they're actually, I believe the 2.7 it works on one of our MAC address schemes, and the 2.8. I'm sorry, I'm getting shaken a head at now, and it's there's two 2.8s.
Thank goodness for the peanut gallery.
Really old firmware.
Okay.
They're not compatible with 2.8 until they hit a certain firmware version.
Okay, so the 2.7 is for the older firmware versions, and thank you, John, for being here and helping remind me. And 2.8 is for newer firmware versions.
Okay.
So we keep them both around, but yeah, it's been a little while. John over here, who you can't see, he's my firmware expert. So
Want to come say hi, John?
Yeah, John.
So it's fine.
he says
okay.
he's got work to do. So
I can hear. Well, thanks, John, for helping out there. I'm glad to have him there. Here's a request for an online chart somewhere on how to create new presets that is always available as a reference.
an online chart that would show what?
As a reference for setting presets.
So again, it's you usually hit the number and then you hit set. It's relatively simple, but we're always trying to get better at our knowledge base. So we'll look into that.
Yeah, and he might be referring to the OSD menu settings, because you might be more considerate now of your OSD menu settings on each angled preset that you have. So we certainly can work on some OSD menu setting information. I do know that we have some, at least in our knowledge base, and we have
And a lot of that is available in the manual
materials.
as well.
Yeah, in the manual as well. Okay. All right. So what else do we need to know about the firmware before we move on to upcoming firmware to discuss?
So yeah, we covered the web server, we covered the HTTPS. Something just want to remind people, because it really sort of happened in this last firmware, is it might have happened the firmware before, but I just, not many people know, is that we have full SRT capabilities now. So we can do both the SRT caller and SRT listener function. So that adds a lot of ability. The SRT is a great protocol for going through public IP and really allows you to dial in your latency. So really excited about SRT. Other than that, yeah, it's really some random security fixes, bug fixes, nothing that we need to get into on the call. People can look at the changelog. But yeah, the big headline is the presets with OSD functions.
Lindsay, would you mind linking to our firmware webpage for anybody who is an existing customer and wants to, easy access to this upgrade? Any specific tips to keep in mind when upgrading your firmware for anybody who might be new to firmware upgrades?
It used to be a lot harder. That's why we used to have the firmware finder to be very certain of the firmware file you were grabbing. The firmware at this point on the cameras is much more forgiving. So you're not going to get yourself into trouble. You're not going to brick your camera. Yeah, download the upgrade tool, download the firmware file for your camera, find your camera on the IP, and load your firmware. And again, we have a great support department. So if you're having trouble, please reach out.
All right. Thank you for posting that in there, Lindsay. Yeah. And moving on to upcoming firmware. This is really good news for us, actually, with MIDI integration. And Geoff, I know that you've sort of been spearheading this initiative for us. For those who aren't familiar with MIDI, can you give us a little bit of background and then how it's going to work with our camera specifically?
Yeah, sure. So MIDI is really exciting. MIDI is an old protocol. I have a MIDI controller right here that I'll grab. So this is a MIDI controller. You may think this looks like a keyboard. Well, it's the same thing. So MIDI is the musical instrument device interface. That's it. And so it is what drives most of your digital music instruments, like keyboards, like digital drums. They all send out MIDI information because they're digital, and then the computer will receive that data and then play a note. So basically, all your digital music instrumentation is built around MIDI. Also, in the House of Worship space, there is a program called ProPresenter, which allows you to script your slides off of MIDI commands called note on, note off. Note on is I press down the note. Note off is I release the note. So that's something that's been really requested from our House of Worship clients. Yeah, so basically what the MIDI control allows you to do is take any MIDI controller, DAW, or something like Pro Presenter, and it allows you to map your pan, tilt, zoom controls directly to the controller. So I can hold down a node and pan left or right, or zoom in or out, or call a preset or set a preset, just like we were talking about. So that same preset with OSD information now can work with just a node on, node off command. And you're saving all that OSD information, or you're calling the preset with that same OSD information. So there's a lot of MIDI devices out there. It's a protocol that really was started in the 80s. And yeah, basically anytime you see someone playing a digital instrument, they're probably using MIDI. So adding that control interface from all those existing controllers out there, it's got us excited for what we can do from here.
Awesome. We are so excited to be working with MIDI. We're officially part of the MIDI Association. I plugged in the beginning, we entered the MIDI Awards, the MIDI Innovation Awards for this upcoming integration. We're actually the first PTZ camera company to integrate MIDI directly into our products. So we're really proud of that. We're really excited about that. And Geoff, you're going to be at the upcoming NAMM show demonstrating this with the MIDI Association. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. We're going to be right in the group of MIDI Association companies, and our camera is going to be featured in the MIDI Association booth in the MIDI Experience Center. So yeah, we couldn't be happier.
So if you are heading to the NAMM show in June in Anaheim in California, be sure to be looking for us, and you can get a hands-on demonstration and use that QR code that we're showing to vote for us, please, for this award. We're really excited to be the first PTZ camera company to integrate this. And do you have any kind of timeline, Geoff, on when we might be able to release this firmware?
Yeah, so we're planning to try and have the first round of firmware available at NAMM. It's not going to be across all of our G2 camera models. Right now, I'm testing it on the PT12X, but we should be able to shortly after NAMM have it available for the PT12, 20, and 30. And get it out to the Z cams as well. So we're trying to cover our current line with MIDI control.
Awesome. All right, here Versaday says, does a person have to have such a MIDI device to make it all work? What MIDI devices can this work with? Let's just say.
So no, so there's actually software MIDI devices. You can, I believe it's called Virtual Piano Keyboard, VPKB. Which just exposes a digital version of the device I was holding up, shows a keyboard, bunch of buttons, bunch of sliders. You have to, if you're using Windows, you have to install a program that creates a loop back so that it can actually listen to itself. In Mac, really all you need is the virtual piano keyboard. Linux, as with everything, is a little more complicated. But yeah, you can definitely play with the MIDI control without having a MIDI controller. There's also Android and iOS apps that send out MIDI information, which you can connect to your computer as a USB device and also control with them.
Awesome. I like the little drag pad, the dial pad one that Brian was demoing with. I thought that was pretty cool to just drag the camera where you'd want it to go.
Yeah, so they call that multi-polyphonic expression pad, and or
Whoa.
MP. Yeah, it's a big term there. But yeah, that allows you to have X, Y coordinates, and even Z coordinates on pressure. So we've got a basic implementation where we can do pan and tilt, and we're looking at using the pressure for zoom and just seeing how much
That's
we can
clever.
control with a little pad.
Make sure you unmute yourself, Lindsay.
So you can click something on the keyboard and then have that as a preset with the cameras?
Yes. So you say middle C, and I can say I want middle C to call preset 1. And so I just I say that's going to be a node on command because I'm pushing down on middle C, and I'll push down on that button and we'll call preset 1. And then I could say D, the next white key, is going to be preset 2. And then I could maybe map E to, I could have that set my preset 1. And then I could use other keys to actually drive the camera around with pan, tilt, zoom. Yeah, it's pretty amazing that you can drive your camera playing a keyboard.
Oh, wow. I want to see it in action because I'm like, how does that work?
Well,
we'll have
would
to
you mind
demo.
finding
We'll have
the-
to demo it sometime down the line for you.
I think so, but I wanted you to find the YouTube link. No, it's okay. I wanted you to find the YouTube link and share that in the chat for anybody that wants to see it demonstrated in a more in-depth, explanation of it. They can check out that video. And Tom here saying MIDI is great for programming your presentation. I bought a Korg 2 from eBay for $20 a few years ago. Those of you who are watching in the chat, since this is so new for us and being in kind of the music production space is new for us, let us know if you see some applications or are you using MIDI right now? Is this applicable to what you do? And if so, what genre are you working in? I know that some of our House of Worship customers are already working with the program.
What about DJs?
Geoff, you got a request to work with vmix to implement MIDI to send commands natively.
Oh yeah, so the vmix, So vmix also has MIDI control. We've used a bunch of different devices to do that. I have not tested doing the. My understanding is vmix takes control, but yeah, that's something we're exploring. We've sort of gotten the firmware implemented. We've tested it on a couple controllers, and now we're really trying to see what all is out there that we can touch.
Nice. It's pretty cool stuff here. And Lindsay just linked to the video. If you want to show that on the show, we can, Mike. I just would have to find it.
Great video.
It is a great video. And I did find it, but there's no share button. Here we go. All right. We'll show it to you guys.
Yeah, I think we did that unlisted or something just because we weren't sure we wanted to spread it around public except for our award entry, but I'm sure we could flip a switch on there.
Yeah. So if you guys even think that this is like cool, please vote for us. Or if you like us in any other way, please vote for us. It's something that Geoff, I know, has worked really hard on, and it's really important for our team. If you would take a moment to just head to this link and give us a vote. What is this link? We're under commercial hardware. You can pick 3. As long as one of those 3 are us, we're happy. Let's take a look at the video, guys.
Traditionally, audio and video products use different control schemes and protocols, requiring a mix of hardware and software to create a complete audio-visual production. For certain industries, such as music production and House of Worship, wouldn't it be beneficial to control your cameras using a solution you already have? At PTZOptics, we've been asked this question many times, so we've recently added MIDI control to our cameras in response to this need. PTZOptics MIDI control allows you to compose your shots and switch between them seamlessly during any performance. MIDI controls can be remapped to any MIDI controller, even MIDI polyphonic expression pads. Simply open the camera's web UI and configure the controls however you like, whatever makes the most sense for your production. MIDI control will be available soon for your PTZOptics camera through a simple firmware update. We can't wait to see how you use this control in your next production.
There you have it. Hopefully that gave a good little overview of that there.
Pretty cool.
I know.
Does
If-
Stephen do it all? You see his comment?
Does Stephen do it all?
Yeah.
Stephen
Play
does do it
drums
all.
now.
Stephen's saying if you're a music composer doing videos on your instrument, having MIDI to trigger presets is a game changer. As a drummer, I want to drum videos. Now I can trigger via MIDI. Awesome.
Yeah.
Can computer keyboard shortcut keys work with MIDI?
I'm sure there's a way that you can. I know vmix has
That's right.
created some ways that it's emulating a node on node off for.
That's how I do
macros.
these.
So that's it's something we'll look into. I'm sure we can figure out a way for you to use your keyboard. But stay tuned.
That's how the X keys work,
Yes.
which I have right here. And I didn't even know I was using MIDI notes until we started talking about the integration. I was like, oh, we're already using that.
So that was
a
kind of
surprise to
fun.
me as well.
Yeah, that was a fun. It was a fun. What the heck? I can't talk today.
We're struggling.
Yeah, that was a fun notice thing to learn. Forget it. All right, Geoff, thank you so much for joining us today. What else do you think we need to know? Anything else about MIDI to convince these people to vote for us for the awards and then check out the integration?
I think, just start looking into it. I think MIDI's really cool, and it's amazing how much stuff there is out there that does MIDI. So we're constantly finding more things that we didn't know we could maybe interact with through that protocol. So we're just very excited to be bringing it to the camera and bringing the camera to a new type of production where, you know, the person who really has the music production or something where they're really saturated MIDI controllers, instead of forcing them to have some other completely different control scheme, they now can bring their own equipment and just control our cameras.
I'm so excited to see, you know, what comes of this. And I think we might need to get you back on the show, Geoff, for a live demonstration. What do you think about that?
I think we could do that.
Maybe when it's ready for release, it'll be like a release party, and then we'll demonstrate it then.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, I won't take up any more of your time this afternoon, Geoff. I really appreciate you joining Lindsay and I.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. Thanks, Tess.
And we'll see you soon then.
Yeah, have a great day.
Thanks. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today with all the quirks and everything that went on. We made it through. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to stay tuned with all of the craziness that happens here with a little bit of helpful info, hopefully intertwined somewhere there. We love having you guys. We'll see you next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern.
See ya.
That's it for now. Let's get some music on. Very quiet music.
It's music.
Oh, we got some music.
Oh.